Did you ever wonder why you don't need a passport to go from New York to California, but if you were to move from one state to another, you would need a new driver's license? Or why you can use the same currency in all states but not be subject to the same speed limits? Or why you have to pay both federal and state taxes? The maze of national and state regulations result from federalism, the decision made by the founders to split power between state and national governments. So where does the national government get its power? Well, as we discussed in class earlier in the year, Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. However, the national government or federal government has three different types of powers. The first one that we're going to talk about is called delegated powers or enumerated powers. These powers are specifically granted to the federal government in Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. This includes the power to coin money, to regulate commerce, to declare war, to raise and maintain armed forces, and to establish a post office. In all, the Constitution delegates 27 powers specifically to the federal government. The national government also has implied powers. These powers are not specifically stated in the Constitution, but may be inferred from the elastic clause. This provision gives Congress the right to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers, and other powers vested in the government of the United States. Finally, the national government has inherent powers. These powers are not listed specifically in the Constitution, but they grow out of the very existence of the national government. For example, the United States has the power to acquire territory by exploration and or occupancy, primarily because most governments in general claim that right. So what about the states? The Constitution also identifies reserve powers, which are set aside for the states. Unlike delegated powers, they are not listed specifically, but are guaranteed by the 10th Amendment. Quote, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Some traditional reserved powers include regulating trade within a state, establishing local government, and conducting elections. So how is power distributed? As we can see, the national or federal government has some very clear powers, making treaties, establishing and regulating postal systems, regulating foreign and interstate commerce, declaring war, maintaining a military, coining money. What does the state government have the right to do? Establish local government, regulate intrastate commerce or trade within a state, public education, schools, and conducting elections, regulations for marriage and professional licensure, whether that be for a teacher, a hunting license, or even a barber's license. And concurrent or shared powers include the power to tax, regulate banks, establish and administer a judiciary, borrow money, provide for common good, and to make and enforce laws. This concludes the tutorial on federalism.